I can't tell.
You're doing it.
Okay. Welcome to the next episode of Sekou's 3/5 of a bunch. Because Gage is ugly and Monty has actual commitments. So a midterm isn't a commitment.
And what about
so we're here with me, Isaac, and Pippa here to discuss episode, I guess it's technically episode 4, but basically the 5th round and elimination of Survivor Winners at War. Big episode tonight. Big chunk of the episode tonight. Not about the actual players. So, where should we jump in on things? Go.
If you give me 1 second, I'll find my headphones so that this echo stops happening.
We couldn't do that before we started recording, Pippa?
Well, usually I don't echo, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, Pippa. Woo. Okay, bye.
Okay,
Oh my god.
well, I don't have headphones.
All right, Pippa. Woo.
Can this be one of those times where Monty puts in technical difficulties?
We put in technical difficulties right when the phone falls
Hold on. Let me go ask Molly if she has headphones.
Oh my
Just
god.
stop this recording.
No, I'm gonna keep going.
So how are you?
Ugly.
I think we should start, when we do start, with, Adam and his apology tour.
Yeah. I would say probably, this can get cut out, so Monty, cut this out, because we're just preparing. Probably Adam apology tour, you're right. And then the Edge.
Go downstairs.
Your Pippa fall down the stairs. The Edge sequence, and then Tyson sequence, and then Sekou with Rob and Parvati throwing Adam under the bus. Yeah, that's how it chronologically went, right?
I guess. I can't remember. I have dementia, remember?
It was the Adam apology tour, Edge sequence, DeCall, which was mainly Tyson, then Sekou, and then the challenge, and then DeCall. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. We've still been recording. We're just gonna make Monty cut shit.
Just start it over. That makes it so much less more complicated.
Monty,
no, I don't want to do the intro all again. Okay. So Pippa has headphones. So to start out the episode, was basically just Adam again, like the last 3 weeks have been. So Adam goes on his apology tour, as it were. And we basically just see a sequence of everyone telling Adam he's a dumbass. And then Adam apologizing, and then Adam trying to make up for it in very transparent ways. So what do we think about Adam's gameplay coming back from this tribal where no one told him what was going on? Neither side of the vote told him what was going
on. I think that Adam first of all, I apologize because I'm really sick, so I'm super stuffed up. I think that Adam gives himself more credit than he's actually due. I don't know. Oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, I just think that he puts too much faith in himself, and yeah.
Well, he did have a confessional about his, like having the hubris to pull all of this stuff off. Oh my God, Pippa's choking.
I can't. There's a lot going on right now. Also, that echo is still there, so it wasn't me.
What's going on? I have my headphones on.
I don't hear an echo.
I don't hear an echo either. So it's not going to show up on the recording, at least.
So you can just deal with it, Pippa, idiot.
I thought Pippa got stuck in a kissy face and was like, and then her screen just cut. Yeah. So I mean, Adam did mention, having the hubris to think that he could pull off what. I think in like a normal season, like an all newbie season, these wouldn't be the worst moves, but he's playing with people who have been around the town before and have like had things like this pulled on them.
It just goes back to okay, so what I was saying before, he gives himself too much credit. Like he really thinks that he's such an asset to these people, but he's so obviously not. Like, okay, I get it. New game, new rules. You haven't played with these people before. And I really hate, like, the thought that, oh, this is how so-and-so always plays, so this is how they're going to play forever. But it does prove true. Like, why would you go up to who you call the Godfather and tell him your plan of voting out his closest ally, therefore putting him at the bottom, and expecting him to be okay with it? Like, I just don't make sense, love.
Key.
I think the swap next episode is a godsend for Adam because I genuinely think there was like I think there are very few ways of like for him to get out of this predicament in general. With that being said, new opportunities to act like an idiot on other tribes with new people. But yeah, it was just like I don't think it was bad gameplay per se. I just think it was like naive in the fact, like you said, like in an all newbie season, this probably like wouldn't have been the worst moves, but you're playing against people with like who have more like how like in normal seasons you get like a little bit like of duds, as Courtney calls them.
Yes.
There are no duds on the island. No one's gonna just listen to something for the sake of listening to it. Like that's the thing. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
I think
lesbians will be lesbians.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think that set a really good example of how playing all sides this season is probably going to be really difficult. I can see this kind of becoming maybe like a second chances type of merge once we do get to the merge where it's a lot of voting blocks, a lot of fluidity. Like there isn't like one or two people playing all angles. It's like everyone is acting so fluidly that there aren't really any concrete sides. I feel like Adam was trying to play too fluid in a game that isn't fluid yet. Like
yeah.
You know who, speaking of like Adam, but not really, somebody that I was mad that didn't get a lot of FaceTime this episode was Denise. Like
Same.
She came on one time and I was like, I actually like missed her gameplay, even though this is the 4th episode, even though it's only been 4 episodes, they were really setting her up to get like a very nice arc and a very nice storyline. And then this episode, she was like all radio silence until, oh my gosh, who told her that Adam revealed the plan. It was Michelle. When Michelle was like, Adam revealed the whole plan. And Denise was like, what an
Wasn't
idiot.
that 2 episodes ago?
No.
It was like, she's talking about like a scene by the well where they're like talking to Adam about like something like that.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh,
okay.
wow, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
cause...
it's like the one time that Denise was seen this entire episode.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was kind of odd because, again, they were setting her up for a really nice character arc, for a very nice, essentially like a storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And then this episode, they kind of put her on the back burner to favor somebody who you can tell isn't going to last.
Yeah, and 2 things on that. The first thing on Denise, I need to get my charger. The thing about Denise is that I feel like I have this pit in my stomach that kind of came about after the episode ended last night, where I was like, there's a very high chance that Denise is going to be, like, her biggest role this season is just going to be this, like, secondary character who gets some visibility just because she has an idol. And, like, that's really going to be Denise's story, is that she has this idol. She'll probably hang on to it for a bit. She might play it. She might correctly play it. And, like, that'll be her story, which concerns me. And B, or 2, whatever it was. The other thing you said about, like, giving airtime to somebody who's not really going to last or probably won't last, like, referring to Adam. Like, you were referring to Adam, right?
Yeah.
Like, I saw someone comment something yesterday on, I think it was Twitter, where they were like, Adam looks like he's definitely, like, getting, like, kind of like that burnout edit where he gets a lot of visibility and then he goes home in, like, the double digits. But then at the same time, he's getting, like, the exact same edit that he got in Millennials versus Gen X when he won. Like, he was pretty oversaturated in his edit in the pre-merge. He, like, no one wanted to align with him. Like, that was kind of his whole edit, and then he kind of bounced back and he, like, won a really messy end game. So,
Yeah.
like, do you think there's any prospect? Like, I really don't know. I don't have an answer, but, like, do either of you think there's a chance he makes it deep?
Yes, but more of a shield than as a player. Isaac, what do you think?
Like I said, I think, like, had they not swapped, his days would have been numbered. But, like, the fact of the matter is they are swapping. There's, like, time to make new relationships with people on the other side. Like, I could see him getting along with power players like Sophie. In my opinion, I think Adam makes the merge. After that, I'm not sure because, like, I feel like we're in for a bloodbath once the merge hits and the first person comes back from the edge. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. I just don't know. Adam is, like, he's getting so much traction in these episodes, but there's not really, like, anything of sustenance about him to talk about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's just amazing me that he's getting so much attention because he's causing so much unnecessary drama. Like, that's just the facts of the matter. You can see that everybody else is just chilling. They're not really interested in doing anything, like, over the top right now. Like, especially Sandra, that's super surprising that she hasn't done a lot. She did say she was going to retire after this season. So, I mean, whether that's true, we just don't know. But, that does make sense. Speaking of Sandra, this is a really great segue. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a rule that you can't sit back-to-back challenges. But Sandra has sat the last 2.
Yeah, I also noticed that. She
has sat almost every single challenge they've had.
Is that
I
for
Yeah.
just
don't.
like reward and like when it's a reward and then an immunity, or like did they just get
I'm
rid of that rule
not.
No,
altogether?
I'm
because
not
they
sure.
haven't done a separate reward and a separate immunity.
But that's what I'm getting at. Is like they haven't done that, so like maybe that's why it's like not
So
there.
maybe they're just letting Sandra sit
Yeah,
every
but
time.
that's always been a rule. Like you can't sit back-to-back challenges
Mm-hmm.
because that's like an unfair advantage. Like who was it? Tyson. Tyson said Sandra is our weakest link, and blah
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. And like that's true. Sandra is one of the oldest players on the tribe. She's never been the most athletic. She's always been more strategic, and she's way better at puzzles than anything. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's an unfair advantage. It always has been to be able to just to sit your weakest person.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, are the rules different because they are winners? Does this rule not matter as much because they haven't done separate challenges? Yes,
I'm
Isaac.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything. I was just
Oh,
throwing
sorry.
this together. Sorry.
I'm kind of in the camp that maybe they're not enforcing the rule this time because immunity and reward are in the same challenge, and they're like, like all of these people know each other's challenge strengths and weaknesses because they're all stars. So maybe production just didn't care enough. Although I know it's skipping a little bit ahead, but how do you guys feel about Sandra, like, almost like proudly sitting out of all of these challenges and being like, I don't need to be in the challenges, like, that's not what my strength is, and kind of showing this, almost like this gusto, like marching off to the bench and being like, I don't need to sit there, or I don't need to,
Wait,
yeah, I don't need to sit
did you
there.
mean gusto?
Well,
Gusto, yeah.
Gusto.
Gusto. Gusto.
I was like, we watching Ratatouille now? What's going on?
Girl,
I mean,
I'm
like, I think
tired.
this is like, didn't this become like a point of contention within heroes versus villains as well? Like, didn't they get mad at her and Courtney for being the weakest links and like sitting out
Yes.
every challenge?
Yes.
Like, I don't know why they're surprised.
I don't
Like,
either.
this is not a new thing, and everyone's treating it like, oh my god, I can't believe that dumb old hag is back and she's sitting out of every challenge. She's gonna break a goddamn hip if she tries to play in the water with these freaks. Like, I don't get it.
I'm
Like,
I'm looking it up. I looked it up, and apparently Sarah clarified something about this rule. So this is from goldderby.com. Don't know how reliable that is, but I mean it seems like a direct quote. Apparently other people have noticed this. I thought that I was a genius. Like I was like, "Oh my gosh, no
Pippa's
one
big
has
brain.
noticed." Sarah said, people keep saying I thought Sandra can't sit back-to-back challenges. The rule is you can't sit out the reward challenge, then the immunity challenge. But since we're having immunity and reward together, the rule doesn't apply in this situation.
So it sounds like production doesn't care.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't. I don't foresee them doing separate challenges anytime soon. It's kind of, for these players, it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah. There's no way they would give that airtime away, which, if we do want to segue into
extinction.
giving airtime away, I have a lot of conflicting thoughts. I've still been thinking about this. I want you guys to, while I compose myself, because I went on a very long rant to like multiple people. What did you guys think about
When
the Edge?
Andrew says multiple people, he means his Twitter followers. And
My Twitter
I am
followers,
one of them because
but
I did read them.
I texted a couple people, but it was mainly Twitter.
My thoughts on the Edge.
Yes.
I am a fan of here let me explain myself. I'm a fan of seeing the players on the Edge because 2, arguably 3 of the players on the Edge right now are 3 of the players that I like the most, and I hated that they were voted out. So when I see the Edge, I'm like, "Aw, I get to see them." do I like what they did? No, that challenge was stupid. They knew it would be so physically enduring
Yeah.
for these people. Like, okay, what's her name? She was voted out first. Why can't I remember her name?
Natalie.
Natalie.
Okay, Natalie. You knew Natalie was gonna do good. Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't show Danny at all throughout that challenge because
Nope.
she's an old biddy and she probably fell like 5 times or something.
Daddy's done.
Amber, like Danny and Amber and Ethan, they're all like, they're not old, but they're old. Like they probably haven't.
They're
like,
old. They're
you know what I
They're
mean?
old.
Yeah.
They probably don't do the stair machine. You know what I mean?
Oh, the fucking Stairmaster.
Yeah, they don't do a stairmaster.
The step
And
back.
so it's like, and this goes back to the thing that I mentioned in the other podcast. I feel like this whole freaking Edge thing, this whole like production is setting this up for Natalie, and I hate it. That challenge seems specifically tailored for somebody of Natalie's strength and stamina, who is a CrossFit trainer, for her to it wasn't like somebody could win it, but for her to, like, get there. Isaac? Oh.
Okay. So here's the thing. Here's my thing. I feel like a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon like, oh, maybe the Edge isn't that bad. The Edge is still bad. The only reason people like the Edge more this time than they did last time is because they know the people who are on the Edge. Like, I think the only people, like, I cared about during Edge of Extinction were, like, Reem and Wendy when she was there, Aubrey. And Aubrey was because, like, we knew who Aubrey was. Like,
That's
but anyway,
true.
we're not going into that. With this, I think, with this season, we're not getting exit interviews. We're not getting the Ponderosas. So, like, I don't understand why this challenge couldn't have been, or, like, the bulk of it. Like, I think we needed to see, like, them struggle. I think we do need to see Edge of Extinction occasionally to remind us that, hey, these people are still in the game. But I don't think, like, it was necessary to show all of that shit. Like, Danny coming up and calling herself, what did she call herself, Rambo or Rocky?
We did not need to see any Danny screen time.
A different Sylvester Stallone character.
Something like that, yeah. And, like, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if we have nothing coming out of, like, the post interviews, like, that shit, why don't you just make, like, the Edge, what's going on there, the bulk of that, filler for what we're not getting? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
And Pippa, real quick before we get to you, I just do want to mention, we got back from commercial break 18 minutes after the hour. Like, we didn't get to the episode until 8:18. I just want to point that out. Pippa, you can go ahead.
When Isaac was saying that about they're just trying to remind us that they're still in the game. Okay, when you said that, it made me realize I like the Edge because I get to see the players that were voted out, but I also hate the Edge because of that same reason, because it sucks to think like Ethan, for example. He wasn't in my draft, but I love Ethan, and I've always been, Ethan is my favorite winner. Africa is my favorite season, and it just sucks to think that out of the people that are on the Edge, he probably won't get back in, and that makes me sad because it's like, well, what are they doing that for? Like, what is the real point of the Edge? Because yes, two people are going to come back in the game, probably. 2 people will get that chance. But what happens to the rest? Oh, congratulations, you stayed on the Edge. Like, whatever.
They get that day count.
Andrew.
I feel, so you asked, what is the point of the Edge? Well, I think we can safely say what the point of the Edge was this episode, and it was basically production Ethan didn't go deep enough into the main game to get, like, his, like, struggle tap into past trauma confessional. So they literally put him in, I'm saying near-death hyperbolically, but, like, near-death situation, like, 2 weeks in, to tap into that past trauma. Like, it pisses me off so much because I'm going to try to keep this rant concise. It makes me mad because, and I tweeted about this, follow me, at Alaskan Bulwark, but I tweeted that, like, it seemed so manufactured, and that's, like, rich to say, like, something is manufactured and be annoyed by it in a reality show, but in Survivor, it's over 39 days. Over that 39-day period of time, people at their own kind of, like, mental pace and, like, at the pace of their own mental resilience will naturally have those moments where they, like, their negative sides come out, or they tap into past trauma or issues or, like, whatever, and they, like, have that emotional moment. Production said, let's force that out of somebody 2 weeks in on the island that is apparently only, like, half a mile out from the other
T,
island.
I was thinking, why did they get to see who's
I
on
was
the
like,
island?
what? I was like, this is fucking weird. It's bizarre. The whole thing is bizarre. I was uncomfortable.
Sophie said, it reminds me of when I wasn't picked for dodgeball, and then there's this shot of her looking across the water at, like, this island that's, like, 20 feet away.
I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this completely takes us out of the experience. Why would you show that scene? And, like, all in all, if I didn't like The Edge already, this episode really drove it home for me because it ate up time. It was really uncomfortable to watch Ethan go through that. Like, kind of gave me Caleb tease from Co Wrong. Like, that shouldn't have happened. Like, they should have regulated that challenge.
That challenge was cruel. Like, straight
bad.
up.
Bad all around. I hated it.
Like, don't they make interns do all of that shit, though?
Probably not that.
Probably not that one.
That's what
they make them do the challenges to make sure that they'll work. Like, that they're actually beatable. But this was like, either you bring down the 20 logs or you don't.
Yep.
I mean, like, you're going, like, I don't understand how this was, like, okay, because you're going up a huge-ass mountain and back down 20 times in, 100-degree heat with the sun beating down on you the majority of the time.
And they had to do it before sundown.
I'm wondering what time this started. That was my first thought, because when Ethan finished...
12 p.m.
And when Ethan finished, it looked like there was still a ways before sundown.
I'm guessing it was early in the morning.
Hours.
I'm guessing it was like they woke up, Amber walked to see their, like, mail, their bottle mail, and it was probably early morning. I would imagine.
Oh my god. When Ethan's arm fell, I felt some sort of way. I was like, why are they doing that to him? They literally
drama.
brought a cancer survivor on, and they were like, all right, do it.
Yeah, literally, they were like, you survived before, can you do it again? And then they made him climb.
They were like, you've survived cancer, but can you survive a heat stroke? Get to it. Like, it was bad.
Oh my gosh.
It was just so... I have so many other things I can say about this, but I feel like it's just not worth it. Jeff Probst has already been cyberbullied into basically canceling the twist after this season. So...
I really hope he does. Edge, when it happens, I'm not really that mad at Edge, because again, I mean, I didn't like it when it happened the first time, because honestly,
Rick Devens.
I love Rick Devens, and he should have won, and we all know it. But anyway, that's a different podcast for a different day. Like, the first Edge I wasn't the biggest fan of, because honestly, you don't know those people very well. You don't have the connections like we do with Ethan and Natalie and Amber and Danny. And I think that's why I like seeing Edge. But honestly...
Who's Danny?
T.
For a second I was like, did I say her name wrong? But honestly, it doesn't really do much for the game. It doesn't really do much for the audiences. I would rather see, like, okay, I didn't even like the Island of the Idols thing. or Ghost Island. Like, both of those things also, what is the point of them?
Stop sending people to islands.
Like, just let them play like they.
I think
they
we should
used
cancel
to
Survivor.
Play. Oh my God! Don't
T.
even.
Points were made. Jeff Probst, if you're watching this, cancel the show.
Bitch.
It's
Kill
over.
it.
I don't want to
Period.
see anymore.
Period. Anyways, I was going to say something. Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Well, crap, what was I going to say? I'd like to see, like, honestly, if they were doing anything for this season, they should have done Redemption. To me, that would have made the most sense.
I don't think so.
You know, you're not wrong. I wouldn't have wanted to see Redemption, but you're not wrong. Like, I hate
Would you rather have
that
seen
much.
Redemption over Edge, Isaac?
No.
Oh.
For real?
No. I mean, for real. Like, I wouldn't want to see Redemption over Edge. To me, Redemption works the best when it has, like, stakes, like emotional stakes. And these people are already so cutthroat that there are really no emotional stakes.
Wait, speaking of emotional stakes, I'm going to segue into something different.
I'm not done!
But I'm ready. Okay, go ahead. Say what you want
whatever. To say. I don't know. Okay, the Edge this season, I guess I'm going to be the Edge defender, is working better than it did last time because,
For
like,
sure.
they're trying to, like, you know, tie it into the game. Like, things that happen on the Edge are having effects, like, to things that are happening in the game. And, like, I acknowledge that they're trying, but at the same time, should that matter? Like, should it interfere with the game? Like, these people lost. These people failed at what they were trying to do, which is get to the end. So do they deserve the chance to alter what happens? And I think the only reason it works kind of this season is because they're all winners and that we know that they have more to show. But like I said earlier, on every season there's a few duds. And it just so happens one of those duds won Edge of Extinction because of that twist.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's like you're making fucking... What's like a universally hated food? Fruitcake? No one likes fruitcake. It's like, do you guys like fruitcake?
I've never had it.
No.
I'm just gonna say that we all hate fruitcake here.
Let's
it's
say
like
olives.
I love olives, not black olives. I like green olives.
No. Okay, first of all, olives are traditionally Greek, not Italian. Isaac.
That's tea. Thanks, Isaac.
You think I care about the Mediterranean?
He said it. It's because you're Italian.
Okay, let's just all say we hate fruitcake.
Olive oil leaking from his pores.
Shut the fuck up. So there's one Christmas, Grandma makes a fruitcake, and it comes out like shit. So the next year, she's like, oh, I'm going to add cherries next time. Everybody loves cherries.
She said, I'm going to bake it this time.
She said, I'm going to bake it this time. And she makes it, and we're like, oh, okay, this is like a baked fruitcake. Like, there's something there. It's still a fruitcake, and we hate it. That's the Edge of Extinction.
Yes.
Yeah. But, like, I wouldn't want to see Edge of Extinction or Redemption Island either. Like, I don't think Redemption works. I don't think Edge works. I think Edge works.
Either.
Granted, a little bit better than it did last time, but it's still, like you said, sucks. It's still a fruitcake. Our picture for this video should be a fruitcake. Monty, edit that out.
A fruitcake with Reem's head in it.
Oh, instead of fruit, we could put, like, the people who have been on it.
That's so much editing. Are you making that picture?
I can do that with Snapchat.
Yeah, literally.
Anyway, speaking of segue into different things that I've tried to segue into before, that I can't remember now, the emotional connection or something. Okay, it's just a quick little thought, but it was the first thing that came to my head, okay? Okay, loved ones visits, right?
Mm-hmm.
My favorite episode is Loved Ones Visit.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me bawl like a baby no matter the season, no matter the person. Who is going to come out and see Rob? That was my first thought.
The children, actually.
Do you really think that all...
And no, it got confirmed, didn't it? didn't it get confirmed that like some of the loved ones are children?
No way. If
Are
that
they doing
was,
loved ones?
I'm like,
they
I'm
would. They
pretty
would
sure I
have
saw
to.
somewhere that like it's like they're not only is it loved ones, but it's like multiple loved ones. Like the kids are coming out, like they're doing like a whole shebang for these winners that make the loved ones visit. Unless I went into a psychosis and I made all of this up.
Yeah, you did.
You probably read
You're-
that somewhere.
You've gone insane.
But
There's two types of
like,
people.
assuming that Rob makes it there, I was just wondering who would come visit him.
Oh,
My
no.
first thought was, do you think they would just row Amber over from Extinction and be like, here's your wife? Like, oh my gosh.
Can you imagine?
But
It's
yeah,
actually
that
Ethan.
was one of the things
T.
that I thought about. Also, speaking of Rob, can I just mention about they were talking about Tyson and about how many connections he had to the other side, especially with Rob. I wonder if they think that poker player thing is a thing too. I mean, I guess it's irrelevant now, but
No idea, but guess it don't matter anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter anymore because they voted Amber out and they made sure Kim felt as though she has no way out, so she like went with them.
And then they voted out Tyson. Which if we're on the topic of DeCall and Tyson, I do believe chronologically after the Edge we got taken to DeCall, and so I liked DeCall's edit this episode. We kind of got to check in with a few players. We checked in with Sophie, staring menacingly at the edge of extinction that was like 30 feet away from her. We got Yule being like weird uncle vibes, like running around being very loud. I still love him.
Eating breadfruit.
Being hot.
I'm still not the biggest fan of Sophie.
I thought you were gonna say breadfruit, and I was gonna be like, well.
It's gonna be like, where'd you eat that? I'll always love Sophie. Period. That's it. How are you feeling about Sophie? Either of you. I don't know who I directed that to. I kind of like looked at my lamp and said that.
The lamp said, hate that bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of her. She just doesn't do a lot for me, you know? Like, she's not somebody that I like, oh, please put more of her in. Oh, please. Oh, please.
I want so much more of her.
Have you seen South Pacific before?
No.
Okay, so Sophie there, like, until, like, for me, like, in South Pacific, Sophie gave me very, like, middle of the road, like, she's kind of annoying, kind of, like, the basic vibes. I didn't think she was gonna win, but as, like, it progressed, you start to see more of Sophie, and that she's not, like, a brat, which, then you see the Albert thing, and you're like, maybe. But, like, I don't know, I feel like Sophie does have a tendency to, like, come off as, like, basic or pretentious or bratty, as she did in South Pacific, but, like, at the same time, like, I don't think she's as bad as you think she is.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's bad. I never said that. I don't think that she's a bad player. I think that she's boring.
What?
She just doesn't really, like, she's there, she's in the fray, but she's not really, she's making, she's part of making moves, but she's not really creating a lot of content that I find enjoyable. It's not like, let me try to think. It's not, okay, I can't believe I'm gonna say this. It's not like Michelle and Jeremy, who I did want more of this episode. This is the only time I will ever say that I wanted to see more of Michelle Fitzgerald. And I laughed very hard when she tried to put herself out to Rob and say, my win was really controversial, and he just was basically like, Okay, well, you still won, so shut up. It made me laugh. I paused my TV and I laughed out loud. It was
Yeah,
so
I was gonna say, how you feel about your daddy supporting Michelle Fitzgerald, Pippa?
I mean, I agree. Like, I still don't like her win, but at the same time, she won. I can't fix that. I can't. I
Fix
wasn't there.
that.
I I wasn't there. I don't know what we don't know the full story of what happens on the island. That's just the way TV works. I don't know, everything that she did to get to where she was, the conversations she had with people on the sides. But I think Rob was right. Like, you win. I'm sure like Amber received a lot of backlash when she won. That was one of the first things I thought of, because when Amber won, I thought to myself, Amber. The first thing I thought of was Amber. One of the only reasons that she won was because she took a ride on Rob's coattails and used him as a meat shield. Very, very smart. But at the time, I was like, Rob should have won over you. Yes, Isaac.
I do think it's interesting that like it was Michelle and Rob having that conversation, because like you said, like it's kind of like a flip flop from like All Stars, where like I guess you would say Rob was the Aubrey, but like I think like a lot of people, I think in All Stars, my train of thought left. I think it's very easy to forget that the social game does factor in as much as it does. Like people like, yes, Aubrey and Rob were flashy players, and pulled off some very like strategic, flashy moves, but at the same time, like that can leave bitter tastes in people's mouths, and that does weigh in on the decision. I do think it's interesting that Rob and Michelle were having that conversation, considering I don't think Rob ever got backlash over his win in Redemption Island, but I do think it's interesting to note that like everybody kind of like considers that season, or everybody I've talked to, like set up for Rob to win. Like he wasn't given a challenge. So yeah.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe, because I think that this was a very important conversation. Oh, Pippa died. I'm gonna keep talking though. I wonder if he sees some of Amber in Michelle.
God.
Like
Michelle.
Michelle. I don't know why I do that voice for Rob. Whenever I imitate Rob, I make it I make it like gay Boston Rob, being like Amber.
Queer. He's a queer.
He's a queer.
Amber. I love Amber.
But yeah, I'm wondering if maybe he does see, because Michelle and Amber did have pretty similar wins. I think at least they're kind of the same archetype of winner, like the social kind of secondary character player that won just because the jury didn't hate them. And I feel like we're jumping around, but I feel like it's organized, so that's fine. Michelle's winner edit, and this isn't me being like Winchell, like bit, like girl, biases aside, Michelle's winner edit is pretty shiny right now. At least if it's not a winner edit, it's like that, like she's gonna go deep, get like 4th or 5th, be the contender to win type of edit. Like, I'm really impressed by Michelle.
I'm surprised that she's actually taking charge for once. And maybe it's because the edits are highlighting her under the radar game and making it seem more on the radar. Maybe that's where they went wrong the first time with her. I don't mind her as much.
Is I feel like this is how she would have been if the beauty tribe went to tribal pre-merge, because she never went to tribal pre-merge. I feel like, we can't say for sure, but I have a feeling this is like what she would have been on Chandler. I think it was Chandler. I don't know. I'm just gonna say Beauty on the
It
Beauty
was
tribe.
Gondol.
Yeah, I feel like this is how she would have been on Gondol, because had they gone to tribal on Gondol, she would have been in majority. I mean, she was like initiating the Girls Alliance. She had Caleb on the side. She had Nick on the side. Like, she was set up. I feel like
Anna Kate would have gone home, thank God.
yeah. So I feel like this is how Michelle is, and the edit disserviced her and go wrong. She's here now. I think she really is a contender to win if we're going off of the first 5 rounds.
I think, like, the edit and co wrong, which we're not talking about, we could do our own episode on the edit and co wrong. I think the edit and co wrong, like, and this is the last I'm going to say on it, I think it gave a lot of, like, the spotlight to Aubrey coming up with the plans. But, like, when you think about co wrong, Aubrey, Michelle, and Sydney ran that shit through the merge. And, like, I feel like they were all a part of it, but Michelle had the best social game out of the 3. Oh, yes. At least out of her and Aubrey, because I don't honestly know how Sydney would have done if she made FTC. But we're jumping all over the place. I want to kind of go back a little to the check-in with the call, because I saw something and
Before you do that, can I say to Monty to cut this, like, real quick?
Yes.
We're back. That felt like 1 second to you, but 3 years to us. We had a problem we had to address.
A cosmetic issue.
Anyway, so Isaac, what were you talking about before?
I want to go back to the first to call segment, because I saw something that shocked me to my very core, and that was Sarah Lacina acting like a human being. I was like, we're getting a much more personable edit out of her this time around, because, like, in Game Changers, it was like, game, I have something to prove, and now she's there, and she's doing blackface to sneak into camps, disrespecting Ben, whatever his last name is, and she's, like, cutting up and laughing with Tyson, which we didn't see. Which, like, if you watched her Ponderosa, you, like, saw it a little bit when she got the makeover. But, like, it's, like, a new side to Sarah, and I'm happy to see it.
Same, although the segment with the breath was Caucasian.
Mildly disturbing. Yeah.
A little much. I was like, that's nasty.
What's nasty?
Tyson Sarah kiss.
Tyson being like, oh, my 12-day clam breath. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Thanks, Tyson. I'm glad that made the edit.
He said y'all want clams?
He was talking about the clams, and he was like, yeah, do you each want one? And she was like, no, we'll share one. Clams aren't that big. What?
I don't know. That one they pulled out of Cambodia that one time was pretty big.
Yeah, the clams they find there are big. I don't know how much meat's in them, though.
Big enough for 2 people?
This is now a culinary podcast.
Don't even get me started.
Cooking with
I've never had clams. Are they good?
They're okay.
It depends. Clam pizza is fine. Clams Casino are like okay.
Clam pizza?
That's a big thing in New England.
Well,
there's no sauce. It's a white pizza.
We need to talk about Survivor. Let's go.
Okay. So, anything else on DeCall? We kind of got to check in on Yule. We heard from
Tony
Wendell somewhere, but it was stupid.
That's not until after, is it not?
Tony and the Shark was last episode. I'm so confused. I keep having a stroke. He talks about himself being a shark.
Tony and the Shark, where he, like, picks up the shark.
Was last episode.
That was last episode.
No, it was not. Oh my gosh.
Yes, it was, Pippa. Yes, it was, Pippa.
It was fully last episode.
It was last episode.
Cut the cameras. Dead ass.
I did watch. Okay, in my defense, I did watch 2 episodes last night because I was behind.
Okay, so then.
Determined.
So, anything else? We didn't see anything of Tony actually in that first segment. But we did see. Okay, I do want to give I want to give Tyson credit where credit is due, and he kind of just very seamlessly called out the entire alliance of four that has been saying that they're so under the radar and like not obvious. He literally sat down with Sandra and Tony and was like, okay, so like the free agents are probably aligned. Yule, Wendell, Nick, and that other one. And
T.
That
like,
Did
so
y'all
funny.
see Randy Bailey respond to that, where he kept calling Tyson the other one on Twitter? And he was like, I played Heroes versus Villains with him. I can't remember his name. Anyways, go ahead.
oof,
Love Randy's Twitter.
that's funny. I think that was very impressive, in my opinion. But it obviously didn't help because then the entire tribe voted him out.
Pippa.
Pippa.
What?
Pippa, start me on in.
Sorry.
Anyways.
I don't have
I
anything
thought
else
that-
about to call. Oh, go ahead.
I thought that moment, I actually took a few notes. I wrote that down about how he said the other one. See, I didn't even remember her name. I was like, yeah, me neither, man.
That was fucking
That's
funny.
how I feel about her too.
Basically that was that DeCall segment, was camp life and Tyson trying to not be on the bottom. So then we get to Sele, which was basically just Boston Rob and Parvati lying and ending, like depleting any remaining social capital that Adam had with
the content that I came for.
the others, and like they pulled it off. Yes, Isaac.
I just want to say, like, I think they pulled it off because, like, people like Jeremy and Michelle were already having their doubts. Like,
Yes.
Jeremy has this, like, long confessional where he compares Adam's behavior to, like, one of his kids after they get caught. Never mind. Caught doing something they shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. But,
I mean,
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just think Adam's days were numbered with them, and I think, like, this might come back to bite him later, too. Because I don't think they trust him at all.
Yeah, I do want to also give the Boston Rob credit where credit is due, too. And I think I'm realizing, the more I'm watching him play in a modern season, I'm realizing a lot of his strategy works just because he has the balls to actually, like, not have the filter to actually do this. Because I feel like a lot of people on Survivor would like to attempt lying about other players, but they won't do it because it's such a risky social move. But like, Rob doesn't care enough, and he has that type of presence where he speaks very matter-of-factly. So I'm starting to realize the nuances of his game a little bit more and how they work with actual skilled players.
But, like, also, he's on the bottom, so, like...
He's on the bottom.
But is he...
Yes.
Yeah.
If he was on the bottom, I feel like he would have been targeted more. Think about it like that.
But he was left out of the vote.
We're gonna go after Parv. We're gonna go after Parv. But
and guess
I
who's
think
still here?
You can pause this. You can still be cut the cameras. You can still be left out of a vote, and that doesn't necessarily mean you're on the bottom.
Yes, it does.
In my opinion. No,
I feel like
it does. Because just because you're left out of the vote doesn't mean that you're on the bottom.
Okay.
It just means that they didn't need you for that vote. But he's still not being targeted.
It means you're either left out of the vote or you're a non-factor. Like, that's what it means.
But it's surprising to me that everybody's like, we're going to go after Parv. We're going to go after Parvati. And nobody's saying, we're going to go after Boston Rob.
Well, I said this last Pippa, were you here at all for last podcast? No. So last podcast, I said I feel like something that is heavily implied with Boston Rob not being the number one target on DeCall anymore is because Amber was taken out, and once they swap, Boston Rob does not have a lot of options, even on DeCall. Like, DeCall voted out his wife. Like, that is a
Yeah,
That
but
is just like that's like a sign. Like
Yeah, they
if
voted out his wife and Amber.
okay. Some jokes just don't land. Um,
I feel and
Here's what I think about Boston Rob. I think that Boston Rob is like one of those people, maybe I was always told this as a kid. Maybe you guys weren't, but like I think Boston Rob is one of those people like you both got the bush. I was always told as a kid like I'm the type of person that can make friends anywhere that I go. I feel like Boston Rob is the same way. Like he
mhm.
can find connections with people no matter where he goes, no matter the circumstances. And I don't think okay, yes, his wife was voted out, but
And Amber.
he's been in this he's been in situations like this before. And I think that he is too smart of a player to let something like this derail his entire gameplay. Yes, Amber was voted out.
He
Will
might
that
not have
propel
a
him?
choice though. Like
But I
the
think that
fact
will
that
propel
like
him more.
I feel like I mean just look at what happened to Tyson this episode. Tyson made a list of valid points as to why Nick should get voted out, and they still iced Tyson out and voted him out unanimously. And I do want to mention, Isaac, I see your hand. I'm sorry. I do just want to mention being on the bottom and getting voted out quickly because of it are like not mutually exclusive. Like I'm thinking like people like Abby Maria in Cambodia. Abby was on the bottom the entire game, still made Final 7. Um, somebody like
PG in China.
PG in China made Final 5, was on the like being
Ben
on the
was on the
bottom.
bottom and he won the game.
Yeah,
That-
like
My
kind
fault.
of actually. She's not wrong. Like being on the bottom, I feel isn't just like who is next in line to get voted out. It's who has the least social capital to pull off the moves that they want to pull off. And Boston Rob does not have a lot of capital right now. He has Parvati and he has the lie that he created, which I think was a good move on his part that gave him more social capital by lying about Adam. Yes, Isaac.
My point, because like we were talking about like why on a regular season they wouldn't do it. I feel like with him being on the bottom before we got off on that tangent, there's really no risk to doing that. Like, what's the worst that can happen? He gets caught in a lie. He's already on the bottom. Like,
Yeah.
But also like I don't think Boston Rob is making it past this like swap. I don't think he makes merge because like even though Sele hasn't taken a shot like at him, they've gone against him but not at him. DeCall has voted out the people who they see as working with him, his wife and Amber. So like it's just kind of like
Enough.
it's just kind of like wherever he goes, he's gonna be on the bottom, and yeah, he is the bottom.
Can we speak about somebody else who's on Sele?
No.
Yes.
I just want to say one thing about my boy Ben. I want somebody to betray him already, like in a big way, so that he starts playing for real. Because he didn't start playing for real until he got knocked down in his season. Until he felt like he had no other options. That's when you saw the Ben that won the game. And
That's
right
when
now,
you
he's
saw
like,
production.
He's like
jump in.
happy-go-lucky. He's like, acting like a cotton-headed ninny muggins or whatever. Like, he's not really acting like a formidable force, which I know that he can be. So I just want somebody to betray him so hard that he actually starts playing the game instead of just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm not paranoid.
Yeah, I don't take Ben seriously.
I don't take him seriously this game, which makes me mad because, I mean, I know that you guys haven't, but I've seen how good of a player he can be. So I really just, I need him to be like left out of a vote for real. I need him to like be stolen from. like blah blah blah.
Punched in the face.
I need him to be kicked off a cliff. Like.
Is there anything else? Sorry, go ahead.
I feel like Ben is like in a good spot because of like the old schoolers, like Danny Boatwright's self-fulfilling prophecy. Like we're still seeing like the repercussions of we're old school, they're new school, they're gonna get together, we might as well get together, and like it kind of worked in the opposite direction. And I think they're still riding that high. Him, Michelle, Jeremy, and Denise. Not necessarily Adam because Adam's a weasel. And I caught the irony in Ben calling Adam a weasel. Don't know if you guys did because of episode 1 and all that stuff. But he is in a good spot as of right now. I don't know how far he goes, though, based on the edit.
Well, I think that if nobody else has anything to say, we should move on to the challenge.
I did have one more thing about Sally that I remembered I wanted to mention forever ago when Isaac was talking about Boston Rob's lie. I feel like the lie just worked well because of confirmation biases, which I wish would be utilized more because it plays on an emotional response. Like Jeremy and Michelle had emotional responses. They're mad at Adam. Like they were already mad at him. They just got angrier.
It's also kind of like scapegoating too. Because like they're, like you said, confirmation bias. Like they're already mad. Might as well just give them a reason to just go ahead and take him out because they want to. They want a reason, and he's playing off that, which I think is smart. He and Parvati
Parvati.
Yeah.
I am impressed by Boston Rob this episode. I think that was the move. Hoping Parvati outlasts him. But anyway, we can move on to the challenge, as Pippa said a minute ago.
So we've already talked about how Sandra sat back to back, and we heard Sarah saying that because of its reward and immunity, together those rules don't apply. So that was the big thing I had an issue with during the challenge. Also, I know that he's a little weasel, but I did feel really bad for Adam because I, like, honestly, first of all, it took me almost until Adam got that key. That was this episode, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Up until Adam got that key to realize that if you had already grabbed one, you couldn't go back and get another one. I just feel like that shouldn't have been like the rule. You know what I mean?
He grabbed all 3 of them though, didn't he?
Yeah.
No, because it was 3 people doing it. It was him, Par.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he grabbed all 3. Because Parvati failed 3 times.
Okay, but if he just kept failing, then why didn't one of them get back up? Because he was obviously tired. Like he was obviously like.
I think the order went was Denise tried, failed miserably. Parvati tried, failed. Adam tried, and got his the first time. Didn't he? Or did he not?
I'm pretty sure that it was like 3 people, and each of them had to get a key.
I don't think that's what it was, because I'm like 99.9% sure that Adam got at least 2.
He did. Because Parvati, I remember watching her jump, and every time she missed.
That was the thing. I was screaming because Parvati kept missing, and she was the tallest of the 3 of them.
Parvati's 7'3" and can't fucking grab
literally.
One of those keys.
Why
she was like,
fuck? They put their 2 shortest people.
They said, let's put the lesbians up there, who's they're both like 3'3". But
literally, they could have put I don't know. That was just stupid. They could have had Denise in the water.
I was watching that with my grandparents, and I just want to skip forward a little bit to when like Sally finally gets their keys and they go to the end, and they said Boston Rob on another challenge or another puzzle. They said, what the fuck? I thought that was so funny. They said,
Okay. Yeah, you're right. He actually grabbed every single key.
Yeah.
Proud of him. I am proud of him,
they
but it
called
was
him
horrifying.
the Entertainment Tonight recap by Dalton Ross called
My
him,
boy.
They called this section, even LL Cool J was called this a comeback, and they said Sele put their three shortest members in Denise, Parvati, and Adam on key grabbing duty, and they were simply not tall enough to grab them. Denise and Parvati could not get a single key, leaving it all up to the castrated male to get them all, and it was not easy.
I do want to say there was one part that was really funny, like unintentionally funny, when Adam kept going up and down the ladder. There was one point where they must have put a camera inside the ladder.
I know what you're talking about, and I hated this part.
And Adam looked like horrified, like he looked scared. He started laughing.
He was like
yeah. Yes. I was like, oh my god.
That's when I was like, oh my gosh, is nobody else gonna take a turn?
I was like, I feel like he was like just ready to cry that entire time. Like his internal monologue was probably like, oh my god, no one else is gonna do it. No one else is gonna do it. I'm not gonna grab any of these keys. This is terrible. And then he did it. And then after being verbally abused by Jeff Probst for the entire challenge, Sele came back. Jeff Probst literally bullies these
Every
tries.
time Jeff Probst start yelling, I'm reminded of, what season was it where somebody yelled at him for like talking during the challenges?
Was it Penner?
I'm just trying, no, because I have no clue who that is. I think it was in Game Changers, and he was like, I'm just trying to do my job.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Every time I think, Jeff, can you just shut up? I'm reminded of whoever that was saying that, and him being like, this is my job.
Wait, it's Jeff Probst being like, so-and-so yelling at me now, getting frustrated at me. It's something like that. Although that might have been Jonathan Penner.
It was whatever season where whoever was playing was like, you're not going to talk about me. I'm playing the game too. Like, I'm playing
Oh, yes. Here. Was it Victoria? I thought it was Victoria.
Because Victoria did that in Edge of Extinction.
Victoria did that in Edge. Victoria was like...
It was either in Millennials versus Gen X or Game Changers, is what I'm thinking of. Honestly,
I can't remember.
Could have been Wendell. I'm not going to lie to you.
But,
that was stupid, the puzzle thing where he was like, I got it. He was like, you have to yell, idiot. Like, what the
Anyway, back to this challenge.
DeCall just flopped.
I did not like how he kept saying, Nick has done this before.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, I would have, you know what I would have yelled?
I didn't like that.
I would have been like, it's been, like, a year. Like, you think that I dream about this puzzle that I won on a fluke once? No.
Yeah, I don't think that was fair.
He just
like, because you could tell.
Know, like, that would have annoyed me so badly.
I feel like the shouting flusters them even more.
Which
on
is
the
puzzle.
Point. I think it's funny.
It's funny, but I don't
remember
like
Katie in Philippines?
Yes.
That's the point of Jeff Probst being there at the challenges, is that he adds another element. I think he's supposed to be there to frustrate them. Like, nobody really needs, like, the play-by-play. They're all there. Like, whoever wins, whoever wins. But just sometimes when he starts yelling, I don't know, for some reason when he was yelling at Nick, I was like, this is so unnecessary. Like, you said it once, Nick's done this before. And then I think that, like, him saying that over and over made Tyson's, like, list of why Nick should be going home make more sense. Like, he has done this before. Why couldn't he do it this time? Because it's been, like, a year and a half. Like, nobody... Anyway, Isaac.
Okay, so we've kind of covered the immunity challenge. We're going into where they're talking about the vote now, and I just want to like give a quick shout out to Yul saying Nick just consumes. That was so funny to me.
Yes.
He was like,
he just consumes.
He just consumes.
He just consumes.
That was the funniest part of the episode.
He's just
But
been,
also,
lounging on the
what
fucking
else? Like, they haven't been to tribal in 2-3 times.
You can get fucking firewood or something.
Yeah,
like,
but,
he's
like,
just like reclining peacefully in the consuming.
I can see Nick being lazy and
I
consuming.
love Nick.
I will say I'm liking Nick more and more.
I
would
thought it
have
was
actually
so funny.
been sad if he got voted out.
I thought it was so funny when they told him he was getting voted out, and he goes, "Why?"
Yeah, that's what I like, because I feel like that's how I would react if I was ever told I'm getting voted out. Like, at camp, I would just be like, why? What?
You know why they'll never cast any of us? Because our response when somebody says, you're getting voted out, I would just look at them and I would say, imagine circus music playing. And then I would look straight into the camera and go,
What?
What?
It'd kick me off.
I was
I'd
just
be like, yeah, makes sense.
y'all should have done this sooner.
Me at Final 5. Finally, y'all making a good move. No, I'm kidding.
I feel my brain is shutting down when you get through this. What happened?
Okay, moral of the story, I think it's good that I really hope that after this episode and after the swap that Nick kicks into gear a little bit.
I do too.
He was never the most formidable person. He was never, in my opinion, like at the front directly, but he definitely had more of a role in his season than he has in this one. And I don't know if he's like, it's like, I just feel like the dynamics, like, I don't want to expect too much because they're all winners, but at the same time, like, yes, you've all won, but you've not all won this game. Like, this is a
right
whole new
now,
game.
in terms of like the edit and his visibility, he's tied with Wendell with the least amount of confessionals right now at 3.
I can't even remember the last time I saw Wendell, I'll be honest with you.
I literally don't remember a single thing Wendell has said. I did want to ask though, because basically this entire pre-tribal scramble was just Tyson trying to get the vote off of him. Do you think that, I guess I'll say Sandra, because it looks like Sandra was kind of the ultimate deciding factor. Do you think she made the right move in swaying the vote to stay Tyson, or do you think she should have gotten her and her posse to vote out Nick and take a shot at that supposed free agents alliance? Fight it out.
You go first.
I was going to say that I think that Sandra made the smarter move because, okay, I don't like how Sandra isn't, like, making herself more well-known in this season because I love Sandra. I miss seeing her gameplay more than I've seen it in the past. Even though her gameplay isn't the best, I miss seeing it. But I think that she did make a smart move because I think that she's trying to solidify herself with those new schoolers, with the people she knows are probably going to make it out of this swap bloodbath alive. Because they're like, oh, Sandra's old school, but she hasn't like really done anything with a lot of them. Isaac?
Okay, that's a good point, so I wanted to bring that up. I think, assuming they knew a swap was coming up, this was the best course of action. Because it keeps the majority happy, and you need all the numbers you can get going into a swap. You don't want any more division than there needs to be within a tribe. Cele's already fucking fractured to bits, but DeCall is keeping that unity. Tyson had already said her name because, like, you know, out of, like, desperation. He tried to get it on Nick because it seemed like just, like, the thing to do at the time, which I do think can kind of be put on Jeff Probst, going back to that. With that being said, I think had they not swapped, this would have been a bad idea. But considering they did, or they are, I think this was the best course of action. Yeah.
Yeah. would agree, because I would assume that it would have been a 5-4 vote had they taken that route, and it would have been 5 people going back to camp with 3 people out of the loop, and then they go to a swap. Like, that's just bad idea written all over that. So I would have to agree. I mean, I think if it was earlier, if this was the first or second vote of like the season, and this is the criteria that came up, then yeah, maybe you could afford to take out Nick at that point.
The consumer.
Nick the consumer.
Wilson.
But if you are presuming you're going to go into a swap, then go with the facade vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't have really anything else to talk about.
I
think
I will. Us. We have nothing left to talk about. All three of us.
I think that one thing that we didn't talk about that I think is worth mentioning is Nick's vote in this tribal.
Oh yeah.
He threw that vote to Kim. I don't really think it's gonna amount to anything. I think Kim, by the edits, is proving pretty like unmemorable right now. I really don't foresee her getting far. I frankly forgot she was in the game until somebody went and talked to her last episode. And that's a lot of the edits' faults.
Yeah.
They're not any. For Sele, with the exception of Denise, we see all these people's storylines like coming, and maybe Ben, we see all these people's storylines coming to play. DeCall hasn't had that much besides like the personality things they've been doing, like with like Tony and Sarah, and like a little bit with Sandra, and a little bit with like Sophie and Yule. But like those are kind of the figureheads for the alliances that are like shifting around on that tribe, and like going forward, I think the like secondary characters might be like expounded upon. Like you'll start to see them like develop their own storylines, because it's like the Kim Sophie thing that happened in like episode 2, I believe, is still like in play. We haven't seen it like bloom yet, but it's still in play. But what I wanted to talk about was the conversation they had at Tribal, where they start talking about like reputations preceding people, and if they're intimidated by anyone, and if they're basing the vote off of how they perceived the person to be, if that makes sense. Like Nick saw Tyson as one of his heroes, and then Nick starts talking about how he had a crush on Parvati, and then Sandra's like, I'm not intimidated by any of these people. And like I thought that was a very interesting conversation to have, because like it hasn't been brought up yet that these people do see each other in like kind of like a starstruck state, because like they are all winners. Like even on a regular All-Star season, you kind of like have a few duds.
I feel like that's kind of how like sorry.
Go ahead. I was done.
Okay. I feel like that's kind of how like at least that's how that group of 4 kind of came together, like Nick, Yule, Sophie, Wendell, is I feel like at camp they probably gravitated towards each other in the beginning, because they were like, we are kind of nobodies to these other people. Like Yule went off the radar for 12 years or something like that.
Where did he go? Do you know? Because I don't know.
He doesn't want any of us to know. Sorry, it's classified. And then like Wendell, Nick, and Sophie. I mean, Wendell and Nick are very recent winners, and they weren't like the most stellar winners. And then Sophie is regarded as like one of the most like forgettable winners. Even though I love Sophie, she is regarded as one of the more forgettable winners. So it's like, I feel like they probably just gravitated together because they were like, okay, we're all, our reputations compared to these other people are not like explosive, like Sandra, Tony, Sarah, or like Tyson, Kim, Amber, you know? So reputations, I think reputation's been coming into play from the beginning, at least on that tribe. I think on DeCall, on DeCall it's been more reputation based. On Sele, it's been more old school versus new school based.
Mm-hmm.
I feel.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I just think it was like an interesting conversation to have, like to call what's going on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
I agree.
But go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking out loud. Tyson's on the edge. I think of the entire cast, if anyone was going to the edge, Tyson has one of the better chances to get back. So I guess we'll see what happens with that.
So can we talk now about how going into the next episode, can we pick one player we feel we want to put our marbles in going forward? Like we think, this next episode, I feel like they are going to solidify my vote.
Michelle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Michelle. Like, I've lost the majority of my draft. Like, I have not, like,
yeah,
Michelle.
I'm so surprised actually that I didn't lose first. Like, you're.
Yeah, like.
Who's your one person left?
Parvati. Remember when Gage was like, Isaac probably has the best draft here, and then Natalie went, Ethan went, and now Tyson's gone?
Yeah. I'm
Which, like,
surprised that I've only lost Amber.
I do think,
Am I
like,
the only one who hasn't lost anybody? No.
No. There's at least
Monty
one other
hasn't
person.
lost anybody.
Didn't he have Danny?
Okay, then Gage hasn't lost anybody.
Yeah.
I think.
I can see where you guys are coming from with Michelle. She's getting better in my mind, but I'm probably going to have to say Rob again. Like, let me just say that if he gets voted out next episode, I'm not coming back to the podcast.
Please, Rob, get voted out. Oh my god.
So heartbroken.
Okay, no. If Isaac could come back after Ethan got voted out, you can come back after Rob gets voted out.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, Ethan getting voted out was just like, why would you kick a puppy like that? Like,
it was heart-wrenching. Like, just like seeing,
it was
like,
so
seeing Twitter response.
They were like, we'll just go after Ethan because he means nothing.
Okay, here's the thing I don't like, because I've got a lot of opinions about this. I think, yeah, it was sad to see Ethan go, but Michelle got way too much hate for that, and they're still, like...
Oh, fully.
She said something about Ethan, like, in that, like, thing, like, where they all go back with Ethan, which we didn't talk about, but that was really, like, good. That was A-tier stuff, like, I like that. And she, like, mentioned, I, like, cried, and they were like, you sent him there, bitch. Like, you don't get to cry. And I was like, y'all realize it's a game, right?
Twitter can suck my dick.
And then, I love Ethan, but Ethan's got a little bit of an ego. And I think like, I'm noticing it more and more.
Okay, well,
like, he was like, I was going to be first. And then he fucking, like, died. Like, and I was like, I was like, rip. But, I want to close out the episode.
2 Michelles and a Rob for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Last thing before we go, I want to point out that Tyson, in a turn of events that shocked me and my grandmother, gave his fire token to Nick, which I thought was completely out of left field. I was like, why isn't it, like, not Rob? He said I wanted to eat it, or he wanted to eat it, but, like...
Real quick about these fire tokens. If something doesn't happen with them soon, I mean, they're just getting boring at this point. Like,
do you think people can place bets on who they think's going to come back? That'd be so interesting to watch.
That would be interesting.
I don't. I just really feel like these fire token business, if something, like, it's a very slow, like, climax to whatever they're going to really be used for. If they're not used soon, like, I think the interest will be lost in them.
I already don't care about them. I just want Natalie to come back.
If I see Natalie get one more fire token, I'm going to lose it.
Then get prepared to lose it.
I think Natalie is getting, like, challengers on that island. I think, like, Ethan and more so Tyson, they're going to be harder to fool than, like, Amber, who's not watched since season 8, and Danny, who. But
yeah, true.
Well,
do you have anything else to say?
I have to read off the list, and then we have to do our player of the episode.
Okay,
Okay. So, enemies of the podcast for this episode include Adam Klein, because we called him a lesbian. Danny
Again.
Boatwright. because we don't know who she is. Amber Burkich, because we said something about her not being fit enough to climb a mountain. Oh no, it was the stair lift thing we said.
Stairmaster.
Yeah. Sophie Clark, because Pippa fully doesn't know who that is. Rob, because Tyson, because I referred to him as Rob's wife multiple times throughout this podcast.
I thought you were
Ben,
talking about Ethan. Go on.
okay, Rob's 3 wives have all been voted out. Tyson, Ethan, Amber, Ben, and then Nick the consumer Wilson.
Okay, player of the episode. Let's say together 1, 2, 3.
Danny.
No, it's somebody who is not in this season. It's just a shout out.
Oh yeah.
You don't know we were doing this.
We just shout out a player for fun because we just want to appreciate
Okay.
them.
I want to shout out
T-Bird.
Lillian.
Oh, ew.
Lillian? No. Let's shout
Let's
out.
all wear scout uniforms in her honor.
Let's all dress up like T-Bird.
T-Bird,
Woo!
Your facelift inspires me.
Right,
Lillian, your ability to wear a chafing scout uniform.
Lillian, I hope
me.
I hope you're okay because
I hope you've changed your outfit.
Lillian, I hope that you're still crying about your son somewhere on an island. Remember when they said something about her wearing the Boy Scout uniform and they were like, she disgraces it.
All right.
I would like to shout out
no, that's it.
Person.
That's it. Okay, fine.
No,
one more.
It's one. No.
Okay, fine. Then no more.
One.
Okay, I have one for next episode.
Okay. All right.
You already gave Lillian.
Shut up.
And cut the camera.
Cut the camera. Dead ass.
Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe.
Brunch.
Like, subscribe.
Follow our
Send
socials.
me money. Yeah.
We love y'all. Good night.
Until next week. Good night.